Hello, welcome to part two, I guess, of my Speak Your Truth videos. I am going to talk a bit today about the split and which side of it you might be on. There is, like everything, so much to say, so much I could just say. And to choose something, in the avenue of discovery and to just focus on one thing can sometimes in itself be such a practice, be difficult. It's something that takes responsibility and accountability because you're making a choice, right? What you're going to choose to focus your attention on, what you choose to observe, and why, and how that intention of attention literally creates the reality that you encounter and get to be a part of and that you help to build. It shapes the service that we are involved in, and that in turn shapes all of the worlds that we're involved in and the manyness of discovery that we get to build within, and that you and I, or myself, even just speaking as myself, right, I get to choose which day I have, which side of the split or the fence that I'm on. This is beautiful with duality. This is the point, I think, or one of the major truths and wisdom points that we can get from the concept of duality, of opposing pieces of things, sides of the coin, cycle, and I don't want to get too lost in generality because I want to try to stay specific here. So I have some of my notes with me, and those of you who are not new will know sometimes I can get roundabout, and so even if you are new, bear with me. I'm trying my hardest to stay on topic, and it's a difficult feat for me in itself. But as I said, this is part two, so if you are brand new and you just clicked on this, I'll have a link to number one down below, and that one's a bit of a disclaimer about what I'm going to talk about today, and further in this, further on. But let's just kind of jump into it, right? Without any sort of fears or outlying worries about what's to come. And that's another, biggest thing about what I'm talking about here today, and the choices about which world you inhabit and which types of systems you want to be involved in. Because the most beautiful thing about the split that has come for me, I was in a foggy area for quite a while about what the split would be. And it's talked about, envisioned, described, and it's really seen, even played in many different metaphorical ways in timelines throughout history, in many different places and spaces and phases, right? But it's always the same old kind of song and dance. Or same old, I hate to say song and dance because it kind of makes it seem like it's mundane and repetitive, and it's not at all. In fact, it's anew each time. It's a repetition of kind of rhyming, not of copying, and it's an organic repetition, not artificial. And the thing that happens, of course, it's a cycle, and it's inevitable. It's a growth factor, even. It happens with organic sequential growth. So this small slice that's happening right now, the sort of timelines that we seem to be on, very linear, very straightforward and black and white, the apocalypse theme, or the second coming, new beginnings, new earth theme, there's, very clear and distinct other two things happening here, right? And you're either on this one or you're on that side. Excuse me. It's that change of seasons, flux of all my inner workings, shifting and responding to the changes outside and in the air around me. It's sometimes coughs and all these kind of things come up, right? So excuse me if my voice is kind of off and on, and I'm drinking while I'm talking, of course. One of my major things. Anyways, point being, we have a choice at every moment in all parts of our day, even right now, the ways that I choose to see the allergies, the sickness, the seasonal, whatever, all these different, there's all these different categories of social spheres and of learning and of language, assumptions and presumptions that come along with that kind of cultural bubble, right? And they all are talking about kind of the same things, and yet they have their own jargon for it. And it's similar to what I'm saying about being, having this sort of detox going on with my own inner workings, and that has to do with the whole switch of seasons here where I live on, Northeast America. We're coming into autumn now, and I live right in the woods, so my body cycles hear and listen and are exposed to in the vicinity very directly with a lot of organic nature, and my body responds to that. I think all our bodies, it's much more responsive, complex, and consciously aware in organic interactions happening in these kind of ways than the science realm wants to say that it's allergies. We are saying the same thing still, because, I just don't appreciate the restrictive language sometimes that gets put on there, because it's negatively aligned, and it creates a victimness. It creates, it seeks to separate purpose and separate consciousness, and I don't appreciate that in the new age science realm that's happened. It's very disconnected from organic truth and any sort of humane observation. It really works to detach from that, which I think is the strangest attempt to start anything off with when we're humans. But anyways, now I'm sort of getting diverted from it. That's your choice, and we bring it back to the main point of my video here. It is our choice, and by what we choose to consider to be real, the facts, the descriptions, the truths, in fact, it makes it real for us in our world. And then we seek to find more confirmation of that realness, and we incorporate that, and that solidifies our belief. And even if our belief is incorrect or just doesn't even consider the others, it's very limited and very, very pigeonholed into this sort of experimental laboratory setting that actually doesn't interact as well with organic life. It doesn't play out like that all the time when we look at how organic life functions. But again, that's the role of the negative systems, and also of the doomsday, end of the world, apocalyptic theme game that you're allowed to go and play. And this is, or it's your vision of the world, is your reality, is what you think is happening, your timeline, right? And it's very real. And the more that you want to be on that one, and the more that you want to believe in that one, you're going to find more and more confirmation of that one. So be wary of that, because we are here as creator beings. Our power is our choice. That means many, many things, and I can't get into all of the things that really means. I've done 200 videos on what that means. It's hard to sum up quickly here, but just understand that our power of choice is disconnecting from past timelines right now, as my left foot has a little cramp in it. I love those signals. So important and crucial to pay attention also to those sort of subliminal, subconscious ripple effects in the body that happen while you're speaking your truth, that happen while we're interacting with others or going throughout your day. Those tiny little responses, unconscious, subconscious kind of things, are really the body boss and really the managers and workers down in there, and in the energetics or in the physical body, all of them together, because they work kind of intertangled, the three, mind, body, and spirit. doing work down there. And anyways, I'm going to get so off topic. More on that later. More on body interpretations and reading your truth and alchemizing and shadow and light work in other videos, right? But know that I love that kind of work. It's so powerful. Do it in your own time. If you heard truth in that working and you encounter things like that in your own body systems, go with them and learn from them. You're your best own teacher anyways. You're not going to learn anything new from me. You learn it from yourself and inside and go with that. You'll always find your truth that way. On those kind of topics, on every kind of topic actually. Back to our topic though, right, of the split and the themes, and we have the power of choice as to which one we're involved in. This, of course, when we look at the great scope of timelines and we look at now in present moment and we think, okay, well, there are structures and constraints here. We are obviously a part of something happening, right? You can't deny the purpose of position of a present moment. If you try to deny that, I think you're missing the most important, or one of the most important points of the lifetime. And of the grand scheme of all things, and of the divine fractal power, source of creator consciousness, that is the true connection to God's source, that is the DNA, that is your divine directions and instructions encoded down to you specifically from God, source, from the whole picture of the whole design, from everything on the whole plot, graph or spectrum, whatever you want to look at, the whole playscape of, this discovery experiment that is the universe. Now, the connection and your point of where you are, it must have purpose. I mean, we're each individuals, and there's truths that are undeniable, and I talk about that a lot, but I just love to see truths as is and say that's truth and it's undeniable. Let's not try to really pick at it. Let's lean into faith a bit and purpose and divine infinite intelligence and remember, okay, well, yeah, that's a truth there. That's for me to ground and solidify my creations here on. That's part of my foundation here. My energetic, my spiritual, my mental, and my physical foundation, right, is that I am on purpose with purpose. Each one of us must be. And with that, comes a divine sovereignty. And when you own that, and when you know that, here's the power of choice. And you can feel it. You feel your own truth sort of bubbling up within you. However your spark of creation speaks, it's, tingles or ignition in the core or a smile or your heart is beaming, warmth. Everybody feels things in different ways, and maybe it's not even feelings. Maybe it's a knowing and it's a consensus kind of consciousness locking in, or you see it physically, or it's a song, or it's a vibration, or it's a melody note, or a hum. It can be anything and everything. So don't limit yourself, and I'm not limiting by giving some options. This is another thing that we get into when we're talking about where you want to live and what kind of consciousness you represent in each moment of your day. I want to leave my moments open for all types of things. This is what a positive systems incorporates, or attempts to at least. Honestly attempting, seeking truth and true service at all moments. And that's what the new beginnings, sorry, my sweater is like falling. It's warm, humidity, kind of rainy. Can't get in between hot and cold. But this is the point about building and choosing the reality, too. Because, yeah, there's the apocalyptic end of world theme, plug right into that. But there's also, new beginnings, new age, the golden age of humanity, the positive systems birthing everywhere, the new starts, the second coming that's happening. The ignition of the sort of heart center of the main collective of humanity. It's Mother Earth awakening, the divine feminine returning to balance the masculine. If you like to look at it that way, it's the age of the Aquarius. There's just so many different interpretations of the new Earth sort of playscape that you can plug into that shows the ignition of all the new starts. And it's readily available and always there, always just as active with as many potentials, really more than, because it's more fertile ground over here now, because we're moving the collective gross body through sort of dimensionality. And so the whole of the bigger ether space of other has sort of moved away from this more of the third density and into fourth density. And so everything around us is really amplifying and allowing, like fertile ground, for things to bloom quicker, for truth to be heard clearer, because there's more light, and there's more of us who are shining their clear light, and working to harmonize with beautiful light from God, God source, 360-degree full spectrum light that's shining down all the time. Always shining the truth, always hearkening us to the true north, kind of, the great logos. And so by plugging into that, you can't go wrong, and it will always lead the way. And whatever the way is to you, you'll know it, because it's unique to you. And that's what I was talking about the connection and the divine source, DNA, sort of however you like to look at that inner portal, fractal. I like to call it the eternal flame sometimes. But, there, it's your right here to life, the point of discovery that is you. In the Law of One, the book of Ra, I really love these books, and they really say that this is an exploration of manyness, and that it's God is, or the thing that we could try to ever imagine as true God outside of this. Is a great mystery, first and foremost, having the humbleness and the respect and honorship to understand that we don't understand everything, and something outside the playscape perhaps we just can't get, really, the capacity, we're not meant to. Understanding that and leaning into faith again, like I talked about before, and just saying, okay, it's the truth, but I don't get it, really, I can't possibly. But in that great mystery, I have faith in knowing that whatever is creator consciousness, infinity out there that can hold like all potential, when it goes to break apart and seek itself more to define what is infinite potential by seeking each definite little point out, that the whole of the creation is done from unconditional love, from a place of service to the whole, and service to, yes, the self, but the self is by extension a great reflection and part of the whole, of a whole. And so it's done by an act of love, the overall purpose. And so even though the very minute inner workings, when we dive into the micro happenings and the tiny cellular workings, it's kind of like an up and down functions happening. But if we zoom out, we see that there's a homeostasis created with that. There's a back and forth middle ground that creates a regularity. And there's, because there's fluidity and motion happening, So back to the point of the split, back to the point of, understanding that, yeah, it might seem like when we're in first-person view, it's a very much black and white kind of this or that, a versus thing happening with a lot of ors. You're this or you're that, But we've been on that mode and on that template and repeat for, maybe 75,000 years, if you jive with that vibe. Or maybe it's just been your own lifetime that you've sort of been in that, and you've just had enough of it. Even if it's just been one lifetime, I feel like I've had enough of it. It's I see ors, and it's like we have to remember. Actually, we can't get anywhere when we do this. There's too much separation to ever get it going anywhere. There's too much of this happening for anybody to ever come around and build together and actually make something worth doing. If we could incorporate ands and remember that, we're all part of the same team, then maybe we could get things going. Now, that in itself is of rose-tinted glasses wish. That is the great overall scope. But as we all know and as we're seeing, it's really not that simple, right? It really, when you have others that you disagree with, it's very difficult sometimes to find a middle ground that feels good for both. Especially, and most especially, when we come up against things that we might be up against, like infringements, abuse, tyranny, the things that we're trapped in that are, really intensely negative and have kind of really now spiraled out of control because of the allotment of time that they've been allowed to be in this sort of disharmonious, imbalanced situation, right? The amount of disease and has caused huge health crises, hence the split, right? Because the easy, gradual corrections weren't made, different choices were made to take it as far as we can, or could, huge disimbalances are being found. And this is across such a huge spectrum. And even in those of us who are in part of the second coming and who are awake to these things and who have seen this sort of disimbalances happening, it's not like we're not part of that. And in fact, perhaps we even were a part of that, we broke away from it, or we've had all different variations of interactions with this huge issue that we're having. But the point is the way that we choose to interact with it. And that's, again, here we are at the point of choice, the power of choice, and this split. We choose which realities that we engage with, when and how, and why. And it's super important for those of us who understand the topic that I'm talking about right now, that we engage mindfully and consciously and seek balance while we interact with the negative. And that we monitor our own overall balance and make sure that we keep our books, so to speak, balanced at the end of the day. Our energetic currency, mind, body, and spirit, 3 layers of that, we need to be interacting with, assessing, and keeping balanced, and keeping it, in the black. Keeping it on the positive side of the spectrum, positively polarized, seeking a positive alignment. And it doesn't mean this is the most interesting and difficult and interactive and important part of all of it, because it's a truth seeking for yourself. It's true service to the self in such an honest way, of seeking what's good for you, what is your true homeostasis, that is deeply rooted in unconditional love and your highest good, that which is your divine purpose of highest service to the overall function of your God source fractal connection. Your divine birthed in reason that you're here, your higher self, your message, whatever you want to see as your role here, the lessons that you're meant to learn at this lifetime, the reason God birthed you into this family, the reason you chose this role or family, or however you like to say that to yourself, right? That is exactly, what it is about. That's what it is. That's what we need to tap into. Sorry. And remember and recall to seek, honestly. Without skirting away, without excusing or blindsiding things of your own. And it's a difficult thing to even do in itself. That will take up your whole day, my whole day. Those of us who are awake to this and to the new beginnings, into the new second coming and all of that, we've been doing that work. That's the work. That's it. That's, hello. If you didn't know it yet, that is the awakening of Christ consciousness. That's your partnership with God, with Jesus, with the Father. That's the walk. That's the path. That's the middle ground, the golden route. Whatever you want to look at, whatever kind of tradition or language that's your favorite choice. Your connection to whatever guide or prophet or whoever that you feel, is the truth. They're all the same thing. It's all one, right? I like the law of one, and to just kick it back to oneness because it's all the same. As long as you're looking for that for yourself, honestly, that's it. It truly is that simple, and you're a part of it, right? You're a part of this new beginnings, new awakening. The only issue is when we start to make excuses or justifications. We start to say later. We procrastinate. And that in itself, it creates a negative distortion within yourself. And this is what I'm talking about balancing the books, because this is creating debt. This is taking it in a negative balance and seeking that at the end of the day. It needs reconfirmation and validation. And that's a dangerous spot to get into, right? Because, again, we're the power of choice. And if you are consciously choosing, and sometimes we'll say, well, subconsciously, it's the shadow, and yes, it is, but no. Because you have, your main boss here is consciously choosing the ignore button and turning off and allowing that all to be called subconscious or unconscious. It's ignoring it in the forefront, because they are working mechanisms of you, and by choice you are not activating them. And you can most certainly, if you as much as science, and you can find one tiny gold vein down the science realm that might show some pigeonholed, cherry-pick statistics and stats, and to reconfirm that unconscious, subconscious, it doesn't have and cannot possibly ever have interaction with the conscious brain. But you have, it literally almost is impossible these days, because the autonomic nervous system has been already shown so many times. Go look at Wim Hof. Go look at studies that he has done with John Hopkins and other really scientific-y medical realm, penguin wearing, top hat saluting, badges and degree holding experts that are baffled by him and the things that he has done with the immune system and auto responses and the autonomic system that we supposedly just are totally impossible in their little magnifying scope glass under a microscope view of the world. And okay, maybe in their lab coat, breathing away from the screen and only looking through this eye with the light at this angle at 12 o'clock on Sundays only. It does happen that way. Scientist guide. Go write your whole book and do your thesis and make your whole life's worth about 12:30 on Sunday every 3 times a month. If that's what's so important to you, okay? And you think that law at that time is the striking of this most important thing that, impacts every other system and writes these laws or whatever. But don't start thinking that moment, that now you get to tell us all that we have to go and live by that, and we have to believe that too. We have to live our life in this microscope down there, pretending that really matters that much, when in fact that it doesn't even interact out here in the macro organic world in any sort of way that you're trying to present it, right? Oh my gosh, and now I've rambled for half an hour, and I thought this was going to be a quicker video. You do. But again, it's the power of choice, and it's the power of what we look at and what we confirm to be true in reality and what we want to build into our realities. We have the choice to go want to be a scientist like that guy and go write our whole dreams and scopes and everything that we make our life about from childhood into adulthood all about that. But why should anybody else have to force everybody to go do that? You know, we probably shouldn't. And that's the same with everything else. And same thing with the doomsday, apocalypse theme, end of the world scope realities. Same thing with the new age, new earth, golden age of humanity, second coming kind of path that's being also showcased. Everybody has the right of choice here. It's just that we've kind of stalled and delayed. We've all beaten around the bush, and I'm sure you can think of a million times in your own life, this right now, this time, where you've done that, where you've skirted around things, where you've excused away things, okayed things that maybe you weren't okay with, or lied to yourself, or made excuses, or whatever. We all do. That's not New Age second coming, igniting Christ consciousness within yourself, being on that path and on that walk. It isn't even about like pretending you didn't do that anymore, being sanctified from them and purified from them, and they never happened. You're somebody new now. Change your name. I don't jive with that, and I don't think that really embodies and allows us to fully embrace the beauty of the great walk we've all been on, and that it should be emblazing in us as we come into the next levels, as we ascend further into the new age, new earth, the higher selves, our fourth dimensional, into this fourth density, because everything sits together, right? All the chakras, all the densities, all the energetics, realms and layers, yeah, they have their own boundaries and spaces, but they are all part of one vessel. They all work together. They all have, their array within a spectrum. The spectrum is a thing. They are a color. They are a hue within the light spectrum, right? A rainbow is one thing, and all the colors are a part of a rainbow. A rainbow is one. You see what I'm saying? So chakras are and energy centers and densities within yourself. They are all themselves sacred, sanctified boundaries of one system. And yet, they then, if you pull yourself out a little bit more, are part of this whole system. They're part of your energetic body. Your heart, say, it's just your heart, and it just does this sort of work. At one level, if you zoomed in to your heart in itself, it's just muscle, organs, muscle cells doing work. And then if you zoom out a bit, it's the organ of the heart, and that has its own system and world and its own one wholeness, its own boundary around it to do work. And if you zoom out a bit more, the heart is part of the circulatory system and the respiratory system, right? And those are, this again is just scientific realms of splitting up systems. But I'm just speaking so that we could understand more clearly when we try to understand, well, how multidimensional we are, right? And how our dimension of ourself is then a portion and part of the dimension of the collective of humanity. Or you are a piece of your community around you. You're a part of your family. Your family is a part of your community. Your community is part of your city, right? And we're part of our whole of collective of humanity. And the humans are a part of the web of life of the whole of the collective of animal and plant life on Earth, right? And humanity is a fractal piece of maybe the heart or an organ of God, of the whole body of God, perhaps. If you like to look at it in that kind of way, it could be something different, and feel free to change up that. But I'm just trying to explain sort of how paradoxes can really be held inside of each other, that we could grasp here in our limited capacity, that can make sense to us, because it's bigger on the inside kind of thing doesn't always click. And when it's bigger on the inside, starts to talk about moral ethics, it starts to talk about energetic exchanges and seeking harmonious balances for everybody interacting, and we start to incorporate positive and negative polarity into that sort of mirrored paradox, that reflection, it's so helpful, and I found it so helpful, to have more concrete examples to really harken back into and to stabilize imagination space and my understanding in, to remember and not get lost in sort of the happenings, especially when it's frequencies, vibration, and emotion and energy. I think, it's new for me. I'm sure there's many of us who have been doing it for quite a while who will speak on it much better than I can. But to be aware and to be thinking on those, and to be consciously seeking balance within mind, body, and spirit around you at all times, the listening, interactions, integration, and interpretation from those higher energetic frequencies, it takes time to learn. It takes time to hear and to understand. Like trying to learn your favorite song by ear, right? And play it or sing it, or try to learn the lyrics to the song you like, or try to learn the dance moves to some dance that you like to do. It's, it takes whatever type of learner you are. You have to learn what kind of learner you are too. This is why the walk is one of an eternal student, and it's one of this sort of walk of mastery on your own. I really think that's how we got the mistranslation language and the real hijack of master, and calling anything like Jesus a master, or any of these gurus and people masters. It's such a tool to be ran in the negative direction with, unfortunately. But I have talked way too long about this, but I think I'll leave this as a sort of long-winded background explanation behind the scenes of the Great Split, and which side are you on it. Empowering, sort of diving deep into ourselves as to why we make the choices that we do, and how we can consciously hold ourselves accountable actively, continuously, to the best of our ability too, and also knowing and being comfortable and finding a place of neutrality within yourself that accepts that there's going to be mistakes, that accepts that there is shadows and uncomfortabilities, hard edges, and ugliness within yourself that you're coming up against, that you're trying to work through, and saying that, yeah, there is, but so what? I'm trying to work through it. I'm seeking my highest good. I'm not seeking to offend anybody. I'm not seeking to hurt my own feelings or yours. And in fact, if you are, please speak out and let me know how that is a better path for it. And I'll try it out now, because I would like to. I'm not trying to seek anything specific. And that's another thing that I'll leave here and I'll talk more about later. This exact definition of the apocalyptic negative thinking, or the second coming positive thinking. It's all about that. And it really is as simple as deciding whether you're seeking your own highest good, and honestly open to all things that could be, or if you, unfortunately, you're seeking specifics, restricted specifics. You think you have your highest good in mind already, and you have that sort of point out there already, and you're going after that one or the closest thing to it only. And we have to back up and remember what I just talked about for 40 minutes. Like, bro, we don't have the best view. Especially if you're not really doing good alchemy all the time, meditation, and getting into a spiritual place all the time to hear all your great connection to God Source, and know your harmonic sort of center point, your north. you could be really lost, and you have these false points out there that are really defined that you think your highest good, and like up here in the greater scope, the eagle eyes view, it's like you're totally lost out in the woods and you've lost this beautiful centerpiece, this path, you know. And if you would just take the time to come back and listen, you might see it. And then, you know, you'd be like, oh, it was that thing those other people were saying. I just didn't realize that all these avenues that I was already on, if I had continued with my inner knowing, they would have brought me towards what they were talking about. And it's not even their exact path over there that I'm on or going towards. It's just that they have a resonant calling that's near mine, that's near my truth, that I should have followed and gone towards, because it would have brought me to my real golden path. You know, and everybody's on their own golden path. That is your fractal source choice with God. That's your partnership walk that no one else can be on or is on. But yet they are all the same vein and rivet or river and current that's undertaking us to the same, through the same magnetic flow down the hill to meet at the ocean down the bottom. Right? Because the current and the flow, the way that the water moves, that's the truth. That's the gross body movement of God, infinite intelligence, and all of it's following the whole flow. It's whether we're choosing to listen to it or we're diverting upstream from it. You know, other people are riding it, saying, "Hey, the ride feels great, follow." But you're like, "I don't want to ride yours. Yours has like this on it," and it's not. But it's not even about going and hopping in their boat and riding on theirs. It's about following your current, and it will take you there. You know, on your own. Hope these metaphors help. Hope this background conversation and sort of kicking around in the back has helped. If you're interested, I'm going to be diving more definitively with more quickness and further videos, and also in my Deconstructing Distortions new series. I have one episode up already on the word command, but I'm going to be going through quick terms and phrases on highly distorted sort of things like this. For the adept student, for those of us who are aware of the split, those of us who are part of the second coming and the new awakening, those eternal students who are ready to learn more and want to, I'm diving into these highly distorted terms that we've all already know. Our truth tells us, but I'd love to talk about more. I'd love to talk about the way I worked through my own distortions of them, and to iron them out, and to have these quick sort of 10-20 minute videos that sort of go over just one term and shake it out, you know, and show a clearer view on it. So if you're interested in those, you can follow my YouTube channel for more. BitChute, if you're finding a BitChute, they're still getting translated over there. I'm always on Telegram or my website, amariespeaks.com, and Amarie Speaks on Telegram. So yeah, thanks for listening so much. Hope you have a beautiful day or evening, wherever in the world you are, and I'll talk to you soon.